Alright, so we're going to have a look today at the next step in the information processing model of memory, which is working memory, which is also known as short-term memory. So, short-term memory receives and encodes new information from the sensory memory, and it also receives information from the long-term memory for temporary use. So, the short-term memory has all of the information that you're currently aware of and thinking about, and it has a limited capacity and duration. So we're going to do a little memory test now. So if we were in a classroom, we could all do this together and we could see kind of the average amount of words remembered, but unfortunately that's not happening at the moment, so you can just do it yourself. So once I stop talking, pause the video, give yourselves 2 minutes to memorize these words, and don't write them down obviously. And at the end of the 2 minutes, we're just going to write down all the words that you can remember and see how you went. So you're not getting tested on this, just kind of see how you go yourself, just out of interest, because it will be cool to see what your capacity is. Now this is a little distraction task, because if you write the stuff down straight away, you're going to remember a lot more than what you would in real life. You know, in real life you have distractions all the time. So I want you guys to count backwards from 108 by threes, and once you get back to 3 or to 0, then you can start writing down the words. Alright, give yourself 2 minutes to write down as many words as you could remember. Try to resist the temptation of looking back at them, and see how you went. So I want you guys to write down how many words you did remember correctly, so you can go back and have a look at the list before and see how many you did get. So hopefully your results showed that your capacity of your short-term memory was 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information. So what this means is that the average amount of words or things that people remember is 7, but this can vary by 2. So usually the minimum they'll remember is 5 and the maximum they'll remember is 9. We can expand this capacity through chunking, which involves grouping words or letters into chunks. So think of how you remember your phone number. Is it one long number or chunks? So now when I think of mine, I think of it as the first 4 numbers, and then the 2 middle numbers, and then the last 4 numbers. So it's in 3 sections. So we're going to repeat the last activity now, but we're going to try and group the words into categories this time. So you're going to have 2 minutes again to memorize the words, but this time they're in categories, so you can see whether that helps you to remember more words. Alright, so get your timer out again and give yourselves 2 minutes to memorize these words. So there's another distraction task for you now, so I want you to count backwards from 127 by 7s, and yes, stop when you get back to 0. Alright, now you've got 2 minutes again to write down as many words as you could remember. And then again, I want you to go back, look at the slide, and then tick how many words you did remember and see if this changed compared to your first try. So every time we get information into the short-term memory, we have to rehearse it in order for it to move on to the long-term memory. Without doing this, it gets forgotten. So there are 2 main rehearsal types. So the first is maintenance rehearsal and the second is elaborative rehearsal. So maintenance rehearsal involves repeating something over and over that you want to remember, but without adding any new meaning to it. So a lot of the time when you're trying to remember something quickly and you're a bit stressed about it, you might just be thinking of the word over and over and over again until you get to recall it. So it could be out loud, in writing, or in your head. So it does keep information in the short-term memory indefinitely if it isn't interrupted. So if you think about something like those distraction tasks that we were doing, if you were trying to repeat those words in your brain, then that would have been interrupted by the distraction activity. But it doesn't necessarily transfer information to the long-term memory because it doesn't really have any meaning to it. So if you click on the link, there's an example of this. So if we've seen The Simpsons, at the start of every episode, Bart does his little writing on the blackboard. So this is maintenance rehearsal. They're thinking that if he writes the same sentence over and over again, this will fix his behaviour, but as we can see, it never does. So the other way is elaborative rehearsal. So this is a much more effective way of encoding information. So it involves reorganising new and existing information in a meaningful way to aid storage and retrieval. So there are kind of two connections that you can find in order to do this. So it might be found within the information to be remembered or between the to be remembered information and existing knowledge. So if you're trying to remember a list of words, you might find a connection between those words that you have to remember. So you might make an acronym out of them, or you might relate these words to something in your own life. So say the words were, dog, cat, horse. You'd be like, I have a dog, I have a cat, I don't have a horse, but I might like a horse. Something like that. So either you're connecting the words together or you're connecting them with something from your own life to make them meaningful. Alright, so this is one of the tasks for this week. So like always, it will have to be uploaded onto Daymap. So I want you to do some research and find one elaborative rehearsal strategy. After you do this, you need to write a definition for your rehearsal strategy and describe how it might be used to rehearse something learnt so far in our memory unit. So you might talk about how it could help you learn encoding or storage, something like that. So it has to relate to this memory unit.